We're going to go through this question here, and as we're going through it, I'm going to be showing you the importance of the words show that. And it's going to be a really crucial message, and if you do not heed this warning, you run the risk of potentially losing a lot of marks in your test, or your exam rather. Okay, let's go through this. A storage pond is used as a part of a large irrigation system. Water is pumped into the pond and released so that the height h in meters of the water in the pond is given by this. H of t is equal to 5 plus 2 cos k of t, where t is an element of 0 to 24, where time t in hours and t is equal to 0 corresponds to 4 a.m. The time between one high tide to the next high tide is 8 hours. First thing it says is show that k is equal to pi on 4. Now, the huge lesson I need to teach you, this is gigantic. You need to be listening right now. Let's say you can't answer this question. You just don't know how to answer it. Does that mean you can't answer B, C, D, E, and F? Absolutely not. If you can't answer that, that's fine. You can still answer everything else because you've been told that k is equal to pi on 4. So I can immediately define this into my CAS. So I could come over here and immediately say, well, h of t, control this, is going to be 5 plus, now I'm going to go, not control, I'm just going to go straight, trig, whoopsie daisy, I've messed it up, trig, cos, oh, I forgot to put 2 in front, 2, then I can go, I know what k is. K is control, divide, pi on 4. Do you see? I've been told that information. And because I've been told that information, I can answer all the other parts of this question. Pi on 4, t, close brackets, control this such that, then I have to go between 0, control this is less than t, control this is less than 24. You must ensure that you've got a t there to define your domain. That's a common mistake people make. But the big thing is I know what k is. K is equal to pi on 4, so I can immediately sub that in. And then with this function here, all defined, I can answer B, I can answer C, I can answer everything else. So just because you can't answer part A doesn't mean you can't answer the rest. You absolutely can. That is the importance of a show that question. Really important that you heard that message. Okay. What are we doing here? Okay, we're trying to show that k is equal to pi on 4. Well, here's k. What's k telling me? Well, I know that the coefficient of t here is telling me about the period. The period is equal to 2 pi over the value of the coefficient k. Okay, do I know what the period is? I do, because it tells me that one high tide to the next high tide is 8 hours. That right there is the period. How do I know that? Because let's picture this for a moment. So I've got this graph, and let me actually draw this a bit further down. I've been told it's been shifted 5 up, and then 2 up to 7, and then 2 down to 3. It's a cos graph, so it's going to look like this. Up, down, up, down, up, down. And I've been told from one high tide to the next high tide is 8 hours. Well, if I start at 0, then if I go forward, that is going to be 8. Do you see how from there to there, that's one period. From here to here, that's one period. So one period is 8 hours. So what I can therefore say is that 8 is equal to 2 pi on k. And then what that means, after some rearranging, k would be equal to 2 pi on 8. So I'm just rearranging there for k. Therefore, k is going to be equal to pi on 4. And I've shown it. But if you can't do that, that's fine. Because as I said, you can just put pi on 4 in there straight away. That is the important lesson, everyone. Hopefully everyone heard that. Okay, we continue. What is the height of the water at 4 a.m.? Well, I know that 4 a.m. corresponds to t is equal to 0. T is equal to 0 is 4 a.m. So all I have to do here is go, well, what's h of 0? So I can come over here. I can go, what is h of 0? And I will get 7. So that means it is 7 meters. Do you also see how I could have just read that off the little sketch I made here? Because I know if I take this value and I plus 2 to it, I'm getting to the maximum, and I know it's a cos graph, so I know that it's starting there. Next one. What is the minimum height of the water? Well, again, I could just look at this little graph that I've drawn here. The minimum height of the water is going to be 3, because I would just take, my shift and then subtract the amplitude. It's going to be 3. So I'll do that working here. what I would say is that it's 5 minus 3 is, or 3, sorry, 2. 5 minus 2 is 3 meters. So that's how to think through that question there. We're just going 5, the shift, minus the amplitude. The next one, at what time is the minimum height of the water reached after 4 a.m.? So at what time is the minimum height of the water first reached after 4 a.m.? So this is where it becomes helpful to have a visual in your head. You could give it a nice little sketch here, or you could come and draw it like this. You could go control here, add graph. This is another big mistake that people make. They go, all right, what's h of t? Because it's already defined. You hit enter and it goes create a slider. Well, what's happened here is you cannot graph something in terms of anything but x. So when you come to graph this, you have to say h of x. There has to be an x here, not the t that we started with. As soon as you've done that, then we've got our graph here. There it is. So what we want is, at what time is the minimum height of the water first reached? We want to figure out this. This is the first time we have a minimum height. What's that going to be? Well, how can we do this? Well, we know what the minimum height is. The minimum height is 3. So what I want to do is, well, h of t is equal to 3, and I want to solve that for t. So I could come here, and I could go menu 3, 1. H of t is equal to 3, solve it for t. It's going to be all these values here. T is equal to 4, t is equal to 12, t is equal to 20. So if we come back to our graph here, this must be 4, this must be 12, this must be 20. But it says the first time it reached 4 a.m. Well, the first time is going to be when t is equal to 4. T is equal to 4 is first time. Now, this is where you have to be careful again, because it wants our answer to the nearest minute. Well, if I know that t is equal to 0 is 4 a.m., I'm just going 4 hours forwards from that. So that's going to be 8 a.m. And now I've answered it as it wanted. But you have to be really careful that you're doing what it wants. It doesn't just want t is equal to 4, it wants it to the nearest minute. Right, we scroll down. What is the height of the water in the pond at 9:30 a.m.? State your answer correct to 2 decimal places. Okay, so at what height is it 9:30 a.m.? If I know that 4 a.m., is t is equal to 0. Well, what's 9:30 going to be? Well, hopefully you can see it's 5 hours forward, so it's going to be t is equal to 5, but then you have to account for that extra 30 minutes. Well, do you see how that 30 minutes is just 0.5 of an hour? So it's just going to be 5.5. So what I want to do is find out what h of 5.5 is. So I'll come here, and I'll go h, whoops, the daisy, h of 5.5. And that's going to give me that answer there. It wants it to 2 decimal places, so I'm going to go 4.23, and that's meters. Okay, next. What is the first time the height of the water in the pond is 3.4 meters? Give your answers to correct minute. So what is the first time the height of the water is 3.4 meters? If we can just visualize for the second, it wants to find the first time it hits 3.4. So what we want to do here is we want to go h of t is equal to 3.4. Also, see how this is worth 2 marks? You have to give us some working. Okay, so h of t is equal to 3.4. What is t going to be equal to? We come here. We're going to go menu 3, 1. Then we're going to go h of t is equal to 3.4. And we're solving it for t. We hit enter. It gives us all of these values here. Look at them all. But we want what? What do we want? We want the first time. So the first time it's going to occur is 3.18. But do you see how it says it wants it in the nearest minute? Well, what is this? This is telling me that it's 3 hours and 0.18 of 60 minutes. Hopefully that makes sense. It's 0.18 of 60 minutes in the same way that, you know, if I had 30 minutes, so if I had, as we had before, like 5.5, well, that's 0.5 of 60 minutes, right? That's 0.5 of 60 minutes, also known as 30 minutes. Well, now we don't have 0.5, we have 0.18 of 60 minutes. So to get that, what we're going to do is we're simply going to, and I'll do this slowly, we're going 3 hours. We're going to go and 0.18 times 60. So we come here, 0.18 times 60 is going to be 10.8, also known as 11 minutes, because it wants it to the nearest minute. So 3 hours and 11 minutes. Can I also show you a safer way of doing this? And that is, instead of just taking this, you could have just taken all of these numbers here and then times that by 60. And then if there's any rounding issues, you'll see them. But of course, here we don't have any rounding issue. This is still going to be rounded to 11 minutes. Okay, so now it's 3 hours and 11 minutes. But see how it says, what's the first time? Well, you can't say 3 hours and 11 minutes. If you've been given that first time as 4 hours, so like t equals 0 is 4 a.m. rather. It's 4 a.m. So I'm going to take 4 a.m. and I'm going to plus 3 hours and 11 minutes, which is going to be 7:11 a.m. That's going to be your answer. 7:11 a.m. Where would the marks be allocated here? There's probably going to be a marker there, and then your final mark there. So just be consistent. Make sure you're showing me everything you're doing. Make sure you get all those things with the CAS down pat. The biggest message here is knowing that show that. That show that allows you to answer every other question just in case you got this wrong. That's the importance of show that. Okay, I'll see you later.